Hey everybody, how's it going? It is Friday afternoon, 5:43 p.m. On January 23rd. I am, as you can see, in the office. Uh, as messy as it kind of looks, it's still not as messy as my home office. Just saying. I thought I'd check in. Haven't checked in since I think I did something last week after meeting. We had a really good meeting with the Red Cross, actually. Um, This has been a roller coaster week, y'all, in all the ways. The world has just been up and down and up and down. Uh, and we'd be here all day if I tried to talk about the whole thing. But I think there are a couple of things that been sort of rolling through my head. I was having a short conversation with a friend earlier, and in the conversation, and not even really because of what we were talking about, but it dawned on me. I'm going to assume at this point that anyone who's watching me in a video on my page, on my social media, is aware of what's happening in Minnesota and Minneapolis and all that. Uh, and it's super scary and it's super like, oh my God. And then also watching the community response, right? I mean, there are tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands at this point, of people in the streets in Minneapolis, probably even still as we speak, because they had a huge general strike day today, and it was just, I mean, if you've seen any of the pictures, it's amazing. It's fantastic. And it makes me think about something. Uh, somebody somewhere is probably going to disagree with me, and that's okay. I think beyond the crowd, beyond the media ness of it, I think we need to be watching what they're doing and how they're organizing because, in all honesty, there is nothing in me that thinks that if the cubes and who's controlling the cubes really decided to descend on Portland, I don't I don't think we'd respond like Minnesota has. Honestly, I don't think we're there. We don't have that kind of cohesive community network, if you will. Pockets, yes, absolutely. Networks, yes. But the sort of wholesale mass response, we don't have that. I don't care how cool Portland thinks it is. We don't have that. Uh, we have lots of silos. We are a big crab pot in many ways, and the system reinforces us being a big crab pot. Uh, Always in competition with each other. Um, Limited resources. We're always fight. The pie is never bigger. We're always fighting over the same pie, and that's like this region's entire approach to life. It's very weird. Um, but I think it's something that we've got to look at. And like we can't afford to be that way. We can't afford to because at some point it's going to come back around again and it's going to be worse. Uh, I think there was a little tiptoey. I mean, as significant as what was happening here a few months ago was National Guard, all this kind of business. I get that that was significant, and I don't want to undermine what was actually happening there, but hey, this shit is still happening. Pardon my language. With or without National Guard, there's still stuff happening. Uh, excuse me, but I don't see hardly anybody talking about it at this point. Um, but I put something up on my page a few days ago, and I wanted to read through it. We're talking about a lot. obviously what's happening in Minnesota and Minneapolis and people being pulled out of their homes and picked up off the street and whatever, whatever. Just in the last 6 months in our area, there have been over 1,000 people detained. And it doesn't sound, excuse me, it doesn't sound like much when it's in the news, this one person, that one family. It should sound like one is too many, right? So don't misunderstand me. But when you put it all together and, um, we're talking, actually, it's almost 1,100 people. Have we seen 1,100 news stories about people being detained and swept off and all whatever, whatever? Um, I think I think we need to recognize that it's not happening over there. There's definitely an escalation happening, and I think the escalation is going to get worse. But it's still happening in all of these other places as well, and we're not paying attention to it, and we're not ready for it. If that kind of escalation happened here, as has happened in Minnesota, we are not ready for it. As a community, we're not. We don't have the wherewithal, the intentional community connection, collaboration, network stuff to be that broad based. Pockets again, yes. Across the board for the kind of response we're seeing in Minnesota right now, no, I don't think so. Um, and I think that should worry us, right? Um, it's just something to think about. It has to be. It doesn't happen on its own. It doesn't happen by itself, and it doesn't happen because somebody else does the work. Um, but that's kind of how we tend to approach things around here, and then we end up not being prepared, not even being aligned in lots of ways, right? Mm, there are people in this town, there are people in our community, there are people in leadership that I would not for 1 second put my safety in their hands and put my wife's safety, my family, the people that I care about, my friends. Not for 1 second would I put and trust uh, the safety of myself or these folks in the hands of some of the people here in our own community, in our own leadership. Um, and it's just kind of sad, right? It's a there's a reckoning, I think, coming for this region in realizing and recognizing that uh there's just a lot of mm, we're just not all in the same place. And not even just about whether or not we agree or disagree. We literally are not in the same place when it comes to uh, whether or not we'd show up for each other. So that one's definitely been on my mind. Um, what was the other thing it left me? See, I always wait until the end of the week ish, and then I forget half of what I want to talk about. Um, so as I mentioned, it's been a roller coaster week. It's been a good week. It's been super productive. Lots of really good conversations. Um, we were able to put out a pretty big load of materials to PDX Saints Love, who I love as an organization, this morning, which was, that's what we hope to do, right? Uh, and just, the storm going on in the rest of the country, on the other side of the country, is just, oh my goodness. Uh, as much as I want winter, and I love winter, honestly, uh, I, I'm glad we're not. I'm glad we're not having that right now. The cold is enough. We don't need inches of ice. We'd be, mm, we'd be, everybody's power would be down for a long time. We have a lot of trees. But again, it's still a reminder, though, to, because if you're watching the news, the biggest reports are like just the insane chaos at the stores, right? All of a sudden, everybody is realizing, oh, maybe I should actually be kind of ready for a storm. One would think that when you live in a place that is at least regularly gets snow, they'd be prepared, but they don't. Uh, so it's just another reminder to, you know, if something happens, are you in a place to be able to handle it, right? Uh, so, as y'all know, I think about that a lot. Excuse me. Um, there's just a lot of stuff going on, y'all. I know what else I wanted to talk about. So City Hall is interesting. It's always interesting. Um, Kind of goes back to what I said just a second ago about, basically we have power dynamics in this city that don't actually have any interest in the entire city and or its population actually succeeding. There's money to be made first. And there's still a lot of mm, entitlement, um, privilege, racism, sexism. Like, that's the other piece that didn't get talked about. This hoopla with, was it last week's meeting? With the whole texting situation and, you know, talking about counselors' temperaments. That did not get enough attention, in my opinion. Um, but part of it, what I didn't see a lot of in that conversation was the realization, recognition of the sexism of what went on as well, you know? And that's just, uh-uh. I, just like fingernails on a chalkboard for me in recognizing the amount of white, cis, male, gay or straight energy just pounding out of that space. It was like, oh my God, y'all just, woo. Fortunately, I'm not a violent person. I just, uh, I just get bitchy. But that should be a wake up call for a lot of people to recognize that there are a lot of people in leadership in this city that don't have a vested interest in real equity and real representation. The privilege and the entitlement that simmers below the surface, again, straight community, queer community, it's there. Uh, all it takes is just a little poke, and here it comes. And I hope everybody saw it. That's all I am gonna say. I hope everybody saw what happened in that space, and it isn't because uh, there's a socialist communist takeover. You know that that's just not what happened, and it's not what's happening. Uh, but there are parts of our community that are fighting real hard to ensure that real progress does not happen. And I don't even know if they realize that's what they're doing, but that's what they're doing. Um, and it was on full display. Uh, and that's just embarrassing, first of all, for them and for us. We deserve better from the people that represent us. And, you know, just had to get that off my chest for a moment. That was highly irritating. Uh, because it does real damage. It does real damage to community. It keeps progress from happening. It allows and creates opportunities to minimize and negate the legitimacy of that body, meaning city council, uh, and the mayor's office for that matter. But it plays into it. It plays into the undermining of actually getting somewhere and getting work done. And then they're going to carry the mantle of, well, we're the grown-ups in the room. No, you're not. No, you're not. You are not the grown-ups in the room. Um, and we just have to stop pretending that they are. You know, there's a lot of real decision making that has to happen. There's a lot of real work that needs to happen to move this city forward. And uh, either we do it or we don't, right? And it's not someone else's job to do it. That's where we go wrong a lot in this city. Like the entire time I've ever lived here, I've seen this play out over and over again. Is that we have lots of opinions and we have lots of judgments, but it's somebody else's job to actually do the work. And that has no place either. You know, if you're not going to step into trying to do the work, and I'm not always talking about, I'm not necessarily talking about running for office. Sometimes that's the way to go, and sometimes it's not. But you have to do the work. And social media makes it really easy to build a voice, build an opinion block without ever actually doing the work and being part of the work. Um, and then it shows, and then we wonder why we don't get anywhere. Um, yeah, I could ramble on about that for a long time. Okay, I might do another check-in over the weekend. Um, there's just a lot to talk about. There's a lot to do, but just thought I'd throw a few things out there. I might have ruffled a feather or two, and that's okay. Uh, you know, I I've been called aggressive before. It's all right. Ah, but yeah, stay warm. It's supposed to be, down in the 20s for the next couple of days. And, we'll see what happens after that. But stay warm. Excuse me. Support the people who are making sure that the 7,000 plus folks living on our streets don't die on our streets. So support them. Wherever that happens to be, support them. Because in all honesty, that work and making those connections is where the real beginning of building the ability to be a Minneapolis starts. Because if we're not doing that work and we're not connecting in that way, we're not going to do it in any other way either. So that, like, literally, that's where movement building begins. So, yeah, go and do it. Okay. I'm sure I'll check in later, and y'all have a good evening. Bye.